We'd like to give special thanks to all the KGNU listeners or members who have helped us reach our fall goal of 108,000 this year. If you have not returned your renewal yet, don't forget you must be an active member to participate in online giveaways, discounts at the local merchants, and at KGNU benefits. Thanks again for all your support of community radio and our best wishes for the new year. Coming up next, Antithesis.
Good afternoon and welcome to Antithesis.
Antithesis is a weekly radio soiree of stimulating commentary and entertaining conversation discussing issues of importance in our daily lives.
Antithesis airs Sunday afternoon at 5:30.
I'm Richard Curtis.
I'm Leo Greip-Ruiz.
The opinions expressed on Antithesis are the opinions of the person speaking them,
and do not necessarily represent the views of the board, staff, or management of KGNU or of us here at Antithesis.
because I might not agree with him.
And I might not agree with him. They say that it happened a long time ago during the height of the Vietnam War. It was downtown Los Angeles along Skid Row. A young man was walking along, disgusted at what he'd seen at all of the various demonstrations taking place in downtown Los Angeles during the first of the national anti-Vietnam War moratoriums. And he saw a group of young people, 3 people, walking down the sidewalk. They had their arms over each other's shoulders and they were singing, "All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance." They were just singing that over and over. And this long-haired young man looked at them and said, "I can relate to that," and went over. And so soon there were 4 of them walking down the sidewalk singing, "All we are saying is give peace a chance," and walking along. Well, as they say that as this group walked along, they began picking up more people, that other people joined them. And more people, and more people. And then at one point, these 4 young people who had just been sharing a simple sentiment among themselves turned and looked and realized that the reason they were getting such strange looks from the other pedestrians as they were approaching is because they had a block of people following them down the street, all of them singing, "All we are saying is give peace a chance." And the line got longer. Now, they'd been walking through Skid Row, and it started on Main Street in the area with all of the burlesque clubs in the old days and all of that. This was 1969, I think. Around that time is when they say that this happened, and that these young people looked at each other and said, "What are we going to do now?" Because they had no intention of having a parade following them, and among themselves someone said, "Let's go to City Hall. Let's go see the city council." And they said, "Yes, what a great idea." So these 4 young people with their arms over each other's shoulders singing, "All we're saying is give peace a chance," with a block of people following them, went around a corner and around another corner and walked straight toward L.A. City Hall, the famous 25-story tall kind of Washington Monument-like semi-phallic thing that, got blown up in War of the Worlds, and, that one. They walk toward it, and they go into the building, and as they entered the building, one of them knew the way to the city council chambers, and they went up the stairs, and when they got to the top of the stairs, they could look out a window below them at the door that they had walked in, and they saw that they didn't just have a block's worth of people behind them now from their vantage point on the 2nd floor there, right in front of the city council chambers. They say that when they looked out, there were people not just following them down the flight of stairs and down the front steps of the building, but that these people were going all the way down the sidewalk, across the street, down the sidewalk for at least another block or so until they were lost to sight. And they say that those 4 young people were really amazed. They didn't even know each other's names, let alone who was in this crowd with them. There were 2 policemen standing in front of the city council chambers there, and they say that these young people said, "We'd like to see the city council." And that the police officers guarding the place said, but they talked, and they talked. And they finally said that they weren't going to let anyone in to talk to the city council. And all of these people had wanted the city council to make a statement against the war. And you could hear the crowd murmur, they say. What are they saying? What are they saying? What are they saying? And you heard the word make its way through the whole crowd. No, no, no. They say no, 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 no. And they say that there was a ripple in that whole long line of people, all the way to the back, all the way back to the front. And when it got to the front, somehow, magically, that word no was transformed from merely what the police had said to a chant. Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. And the people began stamping their feet. And they went up the stairs, higher and higher, stamping their feet in unison, just like soldiers marching in unison across a bridge and creating a shaking in the bridge which can collapse it due to the harmonies constructed in that structure. L.A. City Hall, all 25 stories of it, shook with the thunderous marching in cadence and chanting of people in the stairwell making their way up from the second to the third to the fourth floor, chanting, hell no, we won't go, hell no, we won't go, stamping their feet, shaking the building. You could hear running. They say there were screams in the offices above, and of course the higher up in the building, the more it shook. And then in the distance there was silence. And the four young people who were still at the head of the line looked around and realized that this was their doing. What could they do? And they began going back down the stairs. And the whole crowd went back down the stairs, and as they got to the bottom of the stairs, they dispersed and began looking at each other. They just began walking around, and it was long-haired hippies rubbing elbows, rubbing shoulders with middle-class black folks from the Crenshaw district. There were people from on the skids, from Skid Row, where the whole thing had begun. Toothless, bearded winos, with tobacco-stained hands and 5, 6, 7 layers of clothes. There were young people, there were old people, there were suburban liberals, the self-consciously agonizing kind, who were there because of their opposition to the war. As just everyone was there, and as everyone is turning and looking at each other, they say that's when the police arrived with SWAT teams and paddy wagons and police cars and motorcycles and sirens and lights blazing, driving up over the curbs, onto the lawns, breaking into the shrubbery, jumping out, shotguns loaded with tear gas grenades, and they looked around, and absolutely nothing was going on except all of LA's humanity, from the Native American exiles living who had just been driven out of the Bunker Hill area, to just everyone. The Latinos in those days, Mexicans and Chicanos. There were not yet the Central Americans. There was Asians in the crowd, mostly Sansei, third-generation Japanese Americans, and Chinatown was just a short distance away. They say that all colors of humanity were there, and that nothing was going on except the police trying to find the problem, and thousands of people milled around with a wild look in their eyes. And the whole thing got started just by 4 young folks singing. All we're saying is give peace a chance.
It's the power of John Lennon.
My favorite Beatle.
Well, so there.
I like that story.
They say that it really happened.
I'd like to think it did, and it calls to mind. I talked to. I don't know if either of you are familiar with Bruce Cockburn, but he's a Canadian folk rock star.
Where, I have a question. Where does how do you get a silent CK?
Silent CK?
His name
We should mention that that's the voice of Pam White again.
Oh, Pam White is here. She decided to do
an eye
this
on us.
Again. Pam White, for those of you who, everybody knows who Pam White is, don't they?
I hope not.
She's the managing editor
of the Colorado
Daily.
Yes,
Yep.
well, so Bruce Cockburn, whom very many people call Bruce Cockburn, because he does have a silent CK, and I don't know where it came from. I did not ask him that, But he deals frequently with human rights issues. He actually, unlike a lot of American stars, he actually travels to these places and talks with the actual people, actual real-life people who are involved in these issues, and sort of informs himself before he has a reaction to them. And I asked him whether or not, after 25 years of putting out music dealing with human rights abuses and such, if he felt overwhelmed and how did he keep doing this? Did it feel like he was beating his head on the wall? And he said that really what you have to do in order to avoid that frustration is to do what you believe you have to do, and do one small thing, do two small things, whatever that is, with the faith that somehow, somewhere it will help someone, and not doing things with the expectation that it's going to make big changes in the world, because if you do that, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment. And I found his answer really powerful and really positive, and it helped me. You know, I write about women's issues a lot, and it seems like in the past 10, 15 years we've slid back on so many different things, and sometimes I feel very frustrated. And I see in this story these four young people with no big plan going and making their statement, saying what they have to the universe, and it causes this enormous response of people who join them. And so that's sort of what I got out of that story, and I like that a lot.
We need to head for City Hall.
And then what?
Well, they gave peace a chance, and the cops didn't know what to do about it.
Okay, so what? So what? What did they do? What did they do?
I think when you set yourself apart and you follow your own drummer, even if you're doing something weird, you know, like walking down the street singing a song, I think that if you're really honest and you really are marching to the beat of your own drummer, that I think you're going to affect other people and inspire other people to join you.
But they got the windows rolled up and like a really good CD player with playing like really loud.
Yeah, got it, like, you know, make the power plant crash or something.
And they're going by on roller skates, and they got headphones on. They got a CD player going really loud.
Yeah.
But it may be John Lennon in the CD.
Wearing buttons is not enough.
You know, that brings up something that I just have really wanted to say to white middle-class America for the longest
Okay, all right,
time.
white middle-class America, listen up. Pam White is talking, and, I mean,
Get a
White
pad.
isn't her middle name, it's her last
Get a
name.
pad.
So she's got the right.
All right. What I wanted to say is that there's a lot of issues out there that make white people feel awfully guilty. Left out the expletive, so I hope the FCC appreciates that.
Oh, she said FCC.
Probably
I
not.
thought you said something else. Never mind.
No, I didn't spell it. Yeah, and I think that either you are an active part of the solution to the social problems facing us, or you are a part of the problem. If you're not going to stand up and declare yourself openly and adamantly opposed to racism and sexism and the exploitation of others, then you, even if you are not doing anything yourself, you are part of that problem. You can stand up and say, guess what, I'm a racist, I'm part of racism, I help make it happen. I'm sexist, I'm a pig, I help make it happen. If you're not fighting to stop it. Thanks, I feel better now.
Have you ever read are you very familiar with Nat Turner?
Nat Turner.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't have to do with anything with Saturday Night Live, with Nat X.
No.
That would be different.
No, this has to do with the Turner Rebellion, where
You know, that sounds kind of
slaves rose up and killed their masters, and wasn't that many, really. I think they might have killed, I forget how many people were killed all in all, but slaves did rise up, and they did kill their masters, and members of the master's family, and, you know, a bunch of folks like that. And people are saying, but we treated them just like one of the family.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think there's a lot of people who say, you talk to them about different issues in society, whether it's sexism, racism, some other ism, come up with an ism. I'm sure that, you know, we talk to people about this kind of stuff. And their response is very usually it's a defensiveness and a denial. I'm not sexist, but I'm not racist, but a lot of my friends are black, you know, that kind of thing, and they want to separate themselves from the problem. But when it comes to active participation or denouncing things as they happen, these people are sitting on their thumbs. You know, if something happens with the police, for example, using that new technology, the Buff One card, to, as they said,
What buff one card?
it's a student ID with a photograph on it, and the information is available to the police and without this. It says so on the form that you fill out, but most students don't realize that. The information is available to the police unless you specify that you don't want it to be available. So there was an assault involving some black man out in front of Williams Village, and the police used the Buff 1 card information on all black males living in Williams Village to, they said, eliminate them as suspects. We in the paper reported that they viewed them as, all of them as suspects. They, however, corrected us and said, no, we eliminated them as suspects. And I thought that was sort of disingenuous. But at any rate, and, there weren't very many people in this town who stood up and said, now, that's kind of rotten, isn't it? They don't want to stand up and speak out when something happens. When somebody was distributing KKK literature up on the hill, not too long ago, about a year and a half ago, where were all these people who aren't racist but back then? Why weren't they standing up, writing letters to the editor, speaking out and saying that's wrong? Where are all the non-sexist guys when their buddies are making Playboy jokes and talking about the chick with the big hooters across the room? Where are they? Are they saying, hey, that's not cool?
It's interesting that the FCC will allow you to say chick with big hooters.
I don't know that they will or not, so if I've gotten you all in trouble...
I
actually
was
You
thinking
can
about
say
it. Yeah,
that.
there's nothing... Yeah, you can say that,
I probably, if I use the anatomically correct words, it might be a problem. But where are these people? Why are they not sexist and they're not racist, but they're not speaking out against sexism and racism? They are a part of the problem, because by sitting there and seeing these things happen and letting them go on without speaking out to their kindred, other white people, they are a part of the problem. They're just as guilty. Stand up and take credit for it. You put the flyers up on the hill. You were the one sitting there talking about the chick with the big hooters. That was you. Not you two, of course. I'm speaking hypothetically to all the middle-class white listeners.
Well, I did use the phrase, but I was only quoting you.
That's right. You were quoting me. So, this really gets to me, this whole issue, and I'm sick and tired of all this defensiveness and all this well, what do you do? If you're not racist and you're not sexist, so what are you doing that's any good for anybody?
Well, buying clothes from who's correct. There's all, I see people doing all kinds of
What are you
things, like
doing for
trying
anybody?
really hard. Like, they wear like Guatemalan clothes, and they wear those shoes that are kind of like clogs, but like Birkin clogs or something.
Yeah, they're kind of fuzzy, and they look like they got llama wool on them or something.
That helps.
Does it?
That's a big step forward toward world peace and
sort of a world
justice.
Fashion. Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I don't want to alienate our listeners. You see what I'm trying to do? This is no, it's important, because people say that I've got a bad attitude, and I.
Oh, come on! I like the bad attitude.
Well, no. I really think that listening to radio programs about current affairs and subscribing to Z Magazine, at least. Well, of course.
And the People's Weekly World.
Well, actually, one doesn't need to subscribe, do they? I mean, isn't it sort of
That's doing something now. That's
it's out-
supporting.
But they're not
press.
going to do that. That's like communist. That would be like making a statement that would somehow involve something besides like wearing warm fuzzy stuff.
That's where we're heading into this ground where Leo and I can disagree.
Well, no. I'm just talking about. I'm looking at Boulder and Boulderites like in general, and trying to see those things that Boulderites like kind of tend to do, and in the same way that people in San Francisco support world peace by, steaming crabs and making really good sourdough bread. I think that people in Boulder really are helping like alleviate all the world's problems by wearing like fuzzy stuff.
Yeah, they shop globally and think locally.
Yeah, and hey, Cherries Garcia, man.
That's right. Josh and John, Ben and Jerry.
I don't know, Jungle Monkey Toe Jam Crunch cookie sweeping stuff,
Well, Leo, how about trying to not be facetious for a moment and tell us what you think?
No.
Damn. Oh, I can't say that.
Yes, you can.
I can say that?
Yeah.
That one's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can I have like a list of the words they don't allow?
It has to
The
do
big
like
seven.
with body functions.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Like below the waist stuff, above the knees.
You know, the worst thing you can say in
There are
Danish.
other things you can't say.
Yeah, I know, but that would involve doing things with other parts of one's physiognomy
Well,
to those things that are below the
Anyway.
belly
That is
button and
just so
above
funny.
the knees.
Yeah, the worst thing you can say in Danish is cancer, eat me. That is the worst swear word. Any of those words that have to do with bodily functions or procreation, those aren't swear words. And if you say that to someone, they'll think that you're making an offer. So that's neither here nor there, but there you go.
No, it's there. It's not here. Here it's sexual
not here.
harassment.
So anyway, so Boulderites are shopping globally and thinking locally.
Yeah, and I mean, just think of how much worse things would be. Like if it wasn't for all the free Tibet bumper stickers in Boulder, do you realize what would happen? The Chinese would have taken over Tibet.
Well, you know that they've got to be scared. You know, I mean, don't they? There's got to at
Which
least
they?
be the Chinese
Scared of what?
scared of all these bumper stickers.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, think of it. If every person in China went after everybody else on the planet
We'd be in trouble.
with just one bumper sticker.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot of them.
We'd all be
They
stickered.
got us outnumbered.
What do you mean?
But
Us,
see the thing.
pale face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I want to give you a hard time though.
all right,
See-
lay it
see,
on me.
What have you done?
What have I done?
What have you done to make the world a better place?
Well, I don't want to get into any self-aggrandizement.
Well, you've gotten death threats, right? You've gotten to the point of death threats.
I have gotten to the point of death threats. I've
Okay,
gotten to the
there
point
it
of
is.
the FBI.
That's the first thing I think that between being known, like when you're known to the intelligence services of the government of the United States, and when you've gotten death threats, then I think at that point, you've reached a certain level of accomplishment. You know, it's kind of like you got a whole pie in Trivial Pursuit. You know,
Yeah,
the
it's sort of like
so-
the first brownie badge, you know. When you got FBI agents calling you on the phone, and the CIA shot your photo, and that kind of thing. You know, you can feel a certain level of accomplishment there. You know, the thing is that what you do doesn't have to be grandiose. You know, you don't have to save an entire family drowning in a car as they're trying to cross the Rio Grande or something like that. I mean, what you have to do is a small thing, maybe here or there, but you have to do it conscientiously and with all your heart. Maybe it is just funding KGNU. Maybe it's something else.
Oh, I want to throw out a bigger challenge, man. I bet you that everybody listening to us, if I say the word, ready? Hero. Only a couple of them are going to think of sandwiches. Most of them, if I say hero, most of the people out there are going to have an image. You listening to this program right now, when I say your hero.
They think of Che Guevara.
Everybody's got somebody that they think about, or somebody's.
That's true.
So you got a challenge, and if you're going to claim that, then go walk out on your front porch and take a look up and down the street, and your job is to do what your hero would do, is to put yourself in your hero's shoes and say, what is the first thing my hero would do right here, right now, and do it. And anything short of that is bull stuff.
You
That
you
other
can
word that
say
you can't
that.
say. Oh, you can't
I
say
can
that
say- I
You
word.
can say bull stuff.
Bull stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
well
can
that's
say that.
good.
Yeah, anything short of that is balderdash.
You can say that too. Although
That's good.
a couple of weeks ago, Leo slipped one in. while
One
we
that
weren't-
was similar.
While we weren't looking.
Well, actually, though, I was referring to something different. I was using it as a colloquialism, so it really was, it meant something entirely different. Yeah,
Well, I think
clarified that at the
your
time.
point is well taken. You know, people need to get involved. They need to see who their heroes are. They need to look inside themselves and see how they contribute to the wrongs that are being committed around them. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to think that far.
If the Dalai Lama is your man, then what would the Dalai Lama do?
Find a way to profit from someone else's labor. Oh, I'm not supposed to say bad things about the Dalai Lama, am I?
Oh, no, well, you tell us about that. That's interesting.
No,
are we losing
I
our
don't-
focus?
I don't
Is
like
Richard
him.
telling us about
But-
the Dalai Lama
No.
benefiting?
I think it's
I'm-
completely.
You think it's relevant?
Yeah, I think
Pam
it is.
White is an
I-
editor. She's an experienced
I'm an editor.
So we want the program committee in particular to realize that we are doing this under professional guidance. We've gotten the best possible type of
Local talent.
help we can.
I
Not
would
just
leave
local.
this
This
in.
is a full-time paid professional.
Yeah.
That's
All
right.
right. don't try this at home. Well, we can do it because we are under the guidance of a full-time paid professional. Now,
we're
Richard,
not at home.
what is this about the Dalai Lama profiting from the work of
What
others?
I want to suggest, I don't want to go there.
No.
You were going to give me a hard time.
That's what she said. That's what she said you could talk about.
I said you could talk about it.
You
You have my permission.
I wanted to see, No, because I think if people are serious about change, they have to be involved in change, which means you have to register, you have to vote, and you should run for office.
You also
there's
have to get
plenty
up.
of other kinds of change besides, lining up to do something which, if it worked, would be illegal. Come on.
No, there is nothing else. There is that.
There's voting, but I think
If you don't take
there's
over
a
the
lot
government,
other
you're not
can
doing
do.
anything.
I disagree with you. I think that the government is one thing, and I think being involved in that is important. But I also respect that there are many other people for whom being associated in any way with that sham government that we have is an insult to them. They're not going to do it. They're not going to participate. And I understand that. I think there's a lot of ways of being involved, whether it's a Ma Teresa kind of thing where you're out there alleviating other people's discomfort, or whether it's I think that's important.
That woman was a nightmare.
She was a nightmare in a lot of ways. She wasn't pro-choice. She wouldn't have been my best friend, but she had a big heart, and she at least, if she's going to give lepers baths and she can do that, then that's great. Someone
This is
needs
a
to do
woman
that.
who said that if you're poor, you should accept it.
Well, that she was rotten in a lot of ways, but and what I meant by that is if you're going to contribute to taking care of the poor, providing for other people, if you're going to be a part, for example, on the CU campus of the Courage program, which helps try to educate people around issues of sexual assault, like what's rape and what isn't. It seems like that should be obvious, but apparently it isn't. The victim assistance program in Boulder, the rape crisis team. There are a zillion different things. These are the things that spring to my mind because they're the things with which I'm most familiar. But there are a zillion ways that people can actually become involved, volunteer, and participate in what's happening around them. And it doesn't always have to be voting. I have seen lives transformed and saved by people in the rape crisis team, for example.
Well, that's a good thing. So those are important Band-Aids in society.
Well, I
That's
think
the
that
point.
we also
are just Band-Aids.
But there's another question though, because I think it's possible for people to want to do good stuff and to get co-opted and to become a part of the infrastructure which is buttressing up this thing that we were talking last week about collapsing, which is this thing called international or multinational capitalism. We're saying that the reason that there are so many odd social stresses at this time is as a result of the ever worsening worsening dysfunctionality of the international capitalist economic system. And I'm wondering at what point people doing good stuff can be co-opted into being a part of the infrastructure which makes things look okay on the one hand, and also taking a position politically from the perspective of anti-colonialism, that there are many projects that we can do in order to establish the kinds of populist mechanisms we need that will give us vehicles which will genuinely represent people rather than this two-winged one-party system that we have in the United States, which really precludes popular participation in any genuinely relevant way. All we get to do really is to walk outside and decide over which two sets of non-existent emperor's clothes we get to be fooled by.
You say that, I think of the Democrats instantaneously. Liberals in Boulder, for example, who go out and vote and participate and think, I did the good thing, I voted for this guy, I voted for that woman, they're Democrats, they're not going to be as bad as the Republicans, and they just help perpetuate this system. That's a big joke. I mean, give me a break. The Democrats, they're awful.
For which reason, I suggest to people that what's most important and what can be most efficacious in an immediate sense is hooking up with other people that share their issues and then risking something, putting themselves on the line to support those issues. If somebody's going to say that they're in solidarity with the EZLN, then, with the Zapatistas, for example, or in solidarity with the people of East Timor, or even, or in solidarity with the Tibetans, then think about what those people have done and what they're willing to do in order to achieve their freedom. And frankly, I think that it gets down to the ancient Japanese teachings about, what is a warrior, and that's somebody who realizes that all you can do is give your life so that the people may live. But that's getting heavy. And I don't want to do that.
You know, if
That
you're going to
we
be
ran
in
out of time again.
bummer. Well, if you're going to be in solidarity with a group of people, you might even want to meet a few of them.
What a concept. Well, we did it again.
But the issue is power.
The issue
Someone
is
has
power.
to say that. The issue
The
is
issue is
power.
Of
power.
course, yep, the
It's-
issue is power. And the point is, where do you get
Take
power, and how
power.
do you mess with business
How do you
as usual?
reorganize it? How
All
do you
right.
reorganize
But we have to
it?
go now.
We have to go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
All right.
you.
Hey, that was Pam White. And I don't have anything else to say, I guess, except nighty-night.
Sleepless Nights on KGNU. 6 nights a week. That's midnight to 3 a.m. An eclectic mix of free-form community radio. Broadcasting to Boulder and beyond.